Interesting.
Are you struggling with your hydration for your sourdough? Do you feel like you just can't get the same crumb structure as your Canadian and American counterparts? Well, today is War of the Flowers. We're going to test out a Canadian flour, which I found in Sainsbury's, and a British flour, which I tried and tested and absolutely love, also from Sainsbury's. I'm really interested to see what happens today, because I've read online that actually it makes quite a difference. The grain they use is different, the way they process is different, and actually it means that your crumb structure is vastly different. So let's give it a try. For the sake of being as accurate as I can, I'm going to use 2 glass containers. Sadly, I haven't got 2 of the same size, but they did come as a pair, so I'm hopeful that they will be similar thickness of glass, just to keep everything as similar as possible. We're going to do 375 grams of Canadian, starting with Canadian flour. That's going to go in a small bowl. We're doing 250 grams of water, 110 grams of sourdough starter. Perfect. I'm quite keen on a fermentalese. I haven't got much time today as I'm going out soon, but I am going to do fermentalese, and that's because I do find it really helps the crumb structure, the gluten, everything seems to be better, which means basically leaving the salt out for the first, however long you've got to spare. So mine will be probably about 20 minutes. I'd like to do an hour or 2, but I just haven't got time today. I'm going to stir it initially with a knife, because it's nice and easy to clean up, and then I will do a little bit of kneading, aggressive stretch and folds, what do you want to call it. I'm going to put this aside now. I haven't really got my hands dirty in there yet. I've just really roughly put it together, and that's because I don't want to spend 10 minutes or 5 minutes or however many minutes sorting this out and making sure it's really incorporated, which I would do in a minute, while the other one's not starting. I feel like it would be a bit unfair, so it's only a couple of minutes, but that fermentalese is only going to be short today, so I think it might make a difference. So let's start on dough number 2. I have found Carr's flour to be absolutely brilliant. It's definitely given me the best crumb structure, hydration levels, everything out of the flours I've tried in UK supermarkets. I will, to be honest though, I haven't tried all the supermarket flours in the UK, but I find it better than Alison's, for example. There's nothing wrong with Alison's, lots of people like it, it's just I don't find it as good as Carr's, personally. I'm struggling to open this bag. Right. So same amount, 375 grams of flour. Perfect. 250 of water. And 110 grams of sourdough starter. Now, you may have noticed my sourdough starter is quite thick, especially when you consider it's been in the fridge for a week. If you don't know this about me, I keep my sourdough starter in the fridge at all times. Go back and watch some of my old videos. I really find it to be a very effective way as mum and toddler, working full time, just really helpful. Perfect. So same again, we're going to start a fermentalese, which is just leaving out the salt, and it just helps kickstart the gluten structure. Right, I'm going to now use my hands to incorporate both doughs better and see where we go from there. I'm just going to wet my hands to make sure I'm doing it properly. Now it's come together. I'm really going to give this about 15-20 minutes. Right, put that aside. Next one. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I can already feel a bit of a difference in the doughs. This dough feels a bit wetter than the other one. I was just doing the other one thinking, gosh, it doesn't feel like I've done much water. Again, that might just be my perception right now. But this feels like a perfect hydration for this Carr's flour, which is obviously the recipe that I would usually use with very minor adjustments. So let's just leave those again for another 15-20 minutes, and then we'll incorporate the salt, and yeah, go from there. It's time to add our salt. I do go in with wet hands. It really helps to just incorporate it. So you can see it's just a little bit damp there. Just helps it to absorb. Probably about another 10 grams of water or something. Just gonna do a few of these. It's very stretchy, this dough. But again, the Cars dough also might be stretchy. That'll do, just enough for it to make sure it's nice and incorporated. Give it a little bit of extra strength, especially as I'm not giving it in a longer fermented today. On to our next. Again, I tend to measure salt with my heart. Heart probably doesn't thank me. Same process again. I've added about 10 grams extra water, just enough to basically fit in my hand. And now I'm just going to mix it all up. There we are. Nice. This dough is also seeming nice. I feel like this isn't taking the water as well. When I say not taking the water as well, I should make it clear that I mean that it's like more of a sticky mess and not holding its integrity as well. The texture of the dough, you see, doesn't seem as smooth to me. And it definitely feels a bit messier. That'll do. And still, yeah, it is definitely stickier, I think. But we will see. Yeah, no, it is. But there we go. In it goes. Again, there we are. Nice. Yeah, it's definitely stuck to my fingers more. I'm going to put these on the side, and to be honest, because I'm going out, I'm not really going to do any stretch and folds, and I'm going to leave it, which is why I did a bit of kneading, because the lack of stretch and folds sometimes really can have a bit of an effect. But I'm a big believer in a fermentalese and a knead, and you can kind of leave it then. So, but we're doing the same to both doughs, whatever happens. So whatever the end result is the same, at least both loaves will have had the same treatment. I'll come back later and see where we're at. I've just gotten back and I'm just going to do some coil folds. It's looking good, but I think it needs an hour or two longer still. So far so good. This one's got a strange lid, so I tend to cover it with a tea cloth as well. Interesting. So this is the Cars flour. I feel like that came away from the sides easier. And that was and this is the Canadian flour. It does look side by side very similar, both, as you can see, got nice blistering appearing now. I think I'll probably leave them now until they're fully risen, which will probably only be about an hour or two left. I don't know if I can see much difference currently. We will see. Let's cover them back up and we'll be back in a bit. I'm back and we're ready to shape. So far, I'm not seeing a huge amount of difference in the doughs. Yeah, they're looking very similar. If anything, I would say at the moment, the distribution of bubbles looks slightly different. This one looks like it's got larger bubbles on the top, and this one looks like it's more bubbles on the top. So just to show you, so this is the Cars flour dough. And you can see what I mean about the slightly bigger bubbles. Yeah. This is the Canadian flour. As you can see, I feel like the bubbles are slightly smaller but better distributed if you put them side by side. But that could be down to something as small as when I did the coil folds, I had to do more to get it out of the bowl in the Canadian flour. It might be that that then took out the bigger bubbles, and with the Cars flour it came away from the side better, and therefore has created bigger bubbles on the top because they didn't burst as many. Let's get to shaping and we'll see what goes on. Just putting my rice flour on my bannetons. Again, we're going to have the same shape. Let's start with what we know, which is Cars. Tiny amount of rice flour on the top. I personally don't like to ruin the integrity of my dough. Don't think it's worth it for the pull. Tend to, there we are, should come out nicely. Perfect. As you can see. So I'm going to do a very quick pre-shaping. I do find that to be slightly helpful when I do a pre-shaping. Put it there, nice. That's looking beautiful. And then I'll put this one, and we'll both leave them for about 10 minutes. And then we'll do a proper shaping straight into the banneton. So it seems more stretchy. I'm having to put it out further to get it out. It's a bit interesting. It's not coming out very well, actually. It's a bit stringy for my liking in these last. As you can see, it's not come out very neatly. Interesting. I was not expecting that. Okay. Again, do the same, do another pre-shaping. Again, it's looking beautiful and blistered. They both are. There we are. So I've got one there and one there. And I'll be interested to see if there's any difference in their spread. So we'll see. It's been 5 minutes and they're beautifully blistered. Both of them, actually, to be fair, look absolutely stunning. Tiny amount of rice flour. And I'm going to shape. I am personally keen on very simple shaping. Delicate with the dough. Just really means you just popping as little bubbles as possible. Much more rice flour at this point, as it's going to go into its banneton and into the fridge. I will say I'm a little bit nervous because my fridge does really tend to overproof things. It doesn't like having things in there overnight. So let's hope that it's not going to be too much. Next one. Sorry, just to say, that was the Cars flour. It's what I'm used to working with. Let's it definitely does seem slightly stickier. It's just my imagination. Again though, beautiful to work with. I should also add that this flour, the Canadian flour, is quite a bit more expensive compared to Cars, which is very reasonably priced. Again, don't go stingy on the flour at the end, in my opinion. Just means that you're not going to have it sticking to your banneton. There we are. There are our 2 loaves. Pretty nice. Both looking good. And both are going to go into the fridge now for the night. I'm very much aware at the moment that it is 6 p.m, so they are going to be in the fridge for a whole 12 hours, which I really try to avoid my doughs. So perhaps it will really show whether, in reality, the Canadian dough does put up better with over-fermenting, because over-proving any kind of dough I find here is just, it's very unforgiving. I find British flours to be very unforgiving, whereas I have read online people say that Canadian and US flours are more forgiving of overproving. So we shall see. We'll be back tomorrow morning to see the results and bake them up. We're back, it's the next morning, and I've just taken both of the loaves out of the fridge. I'm a little bit worried because they have been in the fridge for kind of 13, 14 hours. And my fridge is not as cold as I would like. I think that one looks slightly overproofed. That is the Cars flour. Let's see what this one's looking like. Interesting. We'll see. We shall see, we shall see. Maybe it's not overproofed and it's just the imprint of the muslin. Let's bake them up. That's the only way to tell, really, isn't it? We will go. We'll see what we've got. But I'll be really gutted if they're overproofed, because I just find it really hard sometimes to kind of manage the schedule. Manage a toddler, manage a house, pregnancy. I'm not working at the moment, but I had a poorly toddler yesterday, so that was not helpful. Let's bake them. I'm going to bake up the Cars one first. So let's go. I have parchment paper or baking paper ready cut. I like to cut it into a circle just so it's neat. And I've got my spray bottle ready as well, which I absolutely adore. My Dutch oven has been heating for about an hour now at 250 Celsius. Nearly forgot my lamb. Moment of truth, I would say. Oh, okay, that's okay. It's not too bad. It's not immediately losing its shape. Let's see. I like to do a simple one cut. I think that's going to be a bit messy now. Oh well. And then I always find, if I'm not careful, then it can kind of reseal itself with the water. So I try to put water over the sides and protect the middle. in it goes for just under 30 minutes. Timer's gone off, so just taking it out of the oven. Moment of truth, this is Cars. Okay, not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. It's not my most beautiful loaf, but that's okay. Not bad at all. Pretty happy with the colour on that. So I will, yeah, not bad. So I'll take that aside. I'll put that aside and reheat. Yes, nice blistering. You can see beautiful blistering there, which is always a good sign. But yeah, it's not my most beautiful loaf, for sure. Still got nice sourdough here, as you can see. A little flatter than I'd like, but it's not too bad. Slightly overproof, I would say. And I'll put this back in my Dutch oven for probably another 10 minutes or so. Just get it back up to temperature. And then we'll go again. When I was waiting for my other loaf to bake, I put this back in the fridge and recovered it. And this is the Canadian flour. We'll see what happens. I've been preheating it again for another like 15-20 minutes, just make sure it's properly up to temperature. So it's a fair experiment. Okay, it's looking solid, I think. Oh. Let's do our score. They feel softer to me. That's just me thinking things. Feels like it's spreading quicker and further. That would be very interesting if that were the case. We shall see. Let's get it in ASAP. I think I just a little bit extra there. Let's get it straight in. It's the moment of truth for the Canadian loaf. Oh, definitely think it's got a bit of spring. Yeah, definitely does. Looks like a bigger loaf. Whereas obviously we know it is not a bigger loaf. It is exactly the same size loaf. Again, not my prettiest loaf, but not too bad. And I definitely think this loaf, yeah, I did. It got a better rise. Again, it's got a nice ear. I'll show them side by side in a sec. Again, beautiful blistering. Is it more blistered than the other one? The blisters are smaller and more consistent, which is what I thought I saw within the dough, to be fair. We'll let these both cool and then we're going to cut into them and see what the difference in the crumb is. I'm very intrigued. I thought this loaf seemed more overproofed, which didn't make any sense to me because obviously they've had the same amount of proving time. Perhaps technically an hour's difference. So here we are, we have the two final loaves together. Really interesting. You can definitely tell that this one has risen slightly more, bearing in mind that this one had about an hour and 15 extra proving, because I started the loaf first and then I actually baked this one first, and this one had about an hour extra in the fridge. And as I said, I do find that my fridge, it doesn't keep things as cold as I would prefer. They're not the most beautiful loaves. They're okay. They've got a nice ear, but you know, it's not got the kind of domed tummy, the belly that kind of comes out. I'm okay with that. I'm not looking for perfection. I genuinely just wanted to know, is there a massive difference? And I think the only way we're really going to know, other than I think the blistering is more evenly distributed, slightly smaller. And so as you can see here, slightly smaller blistering compared to the Cars loaf, which has got, I would say, just ever so slightly bigger blistering. And they could have had a higher rise again. Probably both of them, you can see, are sitting a little bit flat. But I think that produces a nicer crumb and a softer loaf. It can create a more aesthetic loaf, I find, to do it under, but I'm not really interested in it being perfectly aesthetic. Yes, it's nice to have a pretty loaf and we can get that perfect balance where it's literally right there, it's perfectly proved, and you've got the perfect crumb structure as a result and everything, that's great. But if I'm just going to go either way, under or over, I will always go for over, because I could have baked these up last night after a few hours, but I just felt that I wouldn't give it the beautiful air pockets and crumb structure I was going to be looking for. Yeah, let's cut into them and see if there's any difference in this crumb structure. This is my usual loaf. This is the Cars flour. So yeah, a nice crumb structure, definitely. I've definitely got a bit of an air pocket right in the middle there, but that's just how that's gone. Beautifully soft, really nice. I'm really happy with that crumb structure, to be fair. That's quite a lovely crumb structure. Yeah, I'm happy. As I say, there is a large air pocket there that obviously was a large bubble that I did not probably get out. You can see it is very large, but that is tunneling. That's not tunneling from underproving, which is normally when you would get tunneling. That's just a large air pocket that got trapped. And that's how you can tell the difference, because tunneling would have lots of them all the way through. There'd be large gaping holes and a huge layer here where you would see that there wouldn't be very many bubbles. Whereas you can see there really is a beautiful crumb structure all the way to the bottom. You've got nice air pockets right down to the bottom there, here and here, right the way down. So it's beautifully proved. Now let's cut into the Canadian loaf. Interesting. I feel like it's cutting easier. I just feel like it's slightly softer at this point already. Interesting. So I do think it lends to a wilder crumb. Interesting. Again, super soft, but then both of the loaves are pretty soft. Let's put them side by side. It definitely does have larger air pockets. The distribution is better, I would say. Oh, so this is the Cars, yeah. And you can see there as well, you can see where it just rose that slightly bit more, you know, just ever so slightly, rose slightly better. This is the Canadian, this is the Cars. It's just slightly better. And even though it had that hour extra, the crumb structure is more open when you compare them side by side. So that's really interesting. Yeah, it definitely does lend for a more open, what they call a wild crumb. You know, they always go for that wild crumb. Oh, the wild crumb, beautiful, open wild crumb. And that's great, but it's really hard to get, I find. I mean, I think this is as wild as you would get, or as wild as I tend to get with UK flour. You can see that the pockets are bigger. And I just find it fascinating, because if it would, you could argue, oh, we had an hour extra to prove. Yeah, but it also was on the verge of overproving. This certainly was slightly overproved, and this one still rose more. And you saw that I did everything the same, so it's really interesting. I do think it makes a difference in terms of your crumb structure. It didn't make as much difference as I was expecting it to make, though. So it just created a bigger loaf. It's exactly the same amount of flour and everything, and look, that's me sitting them exactly side by side. It was higher and wider. I think it's very easy to overprove our dough here with UK flour. I find there's a really fine line of balance, so you have to go quickly. Make sure that you're not overproving, because once you're kind of going into overproving territory, the dough doesn't handle it well, and our dough doesn't handle a high hydration very well either. I also noticed that the Canadian loaf is much softer. And this is beautiful, still cars, but this is definitely softer. Definitely. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this experiment. I haven't seen anything else online like this, so I really wanted to look into it because it just feels like there's constantly like, oh, look at their beautiful wild crumb structure, look what I've got, blah, 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 so happy. I'm thinking, I mean, mine's pretty good, but why can I just not quite get to that American Canadian crumb structure everyone seems to be able to get? And I've been doing this a while now. And yeah, the flour is making a difference for sure. Hope you enjoyed my video. Subscribe and like if you fancy more things like this. Tell me what else you want to see, and I hope you enjoyed the journey of UK versus Canadian flour. See you next time. Bye.